He had already conquered the world. Books, music, cloud, even space. But in 2014, Jeff Bezos tried to conquer your pocket, and that's where everything fell apart. Because Amazon, the company that never failed, finally did. The Fire Phone was supposed to change everything. Instead, it became one of the most expensive tech disasters in history. A $170 million reminder that even geniuses can misread the future. But here's the twist most people don't know. That same failure, the one everyone laughed at, quietly gave birth to one of Amazon's greatest successes. The Fire Phone died. But from its ashes rose Alexa, and a new empire of voice-powered technology. And that's the story we're about to uncover, how Amazon's biggest flop became the blueprint for its domination. And what it secretly teaches about how innovation really works. In the early 2010s, the iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a revolution. It had changed everything. The way people communicated, the way they worked, the way they consumed media, and most importantly, the way they interacted with the world. Before the iPhone, phones were tools. After it, they became extensions of human identity. People didn't just own their phones, they lived through them. Every competitor, from Samsung to HTC to Motorola, had been forced to adapt to Apple's new definition of smart. And Jeff Bezos? He was watching closely. He saw something others didn't. To him, the smartphone wasn't just the future of communication, it was the gateway to the future of commerce. Every phone was a storefront. Every app, a potential transaction. And if Amazon, the company that had already transformed how people bought books, gadgets, and groceries, could control that gateway, it wouldn't just participate in the mobile revolution. It would own it. So, inside Amazon's secretive labs in Seattle, a plan began to take shape. Bezos gathered a select group of engineers, designers, and product leads, people who had already built some of Amazon's most successful products, and gave them an impossible challenge. He didn't want another phone. He wanted the phone. Something that wouldn't just compete with Apple or Samsung, but would make them look outdated. The message from the top was clear, almost obsessive. Don't copy Apple, Bezos said. Outsmart them. And that became the heartbeat of the project. Every meeting, every prototype, every late-night brainstorming session carried that same underlying pressure: Amazon doesn't imitate, Amazon reinvents. The mission was written on whiteboards across the development floor. Make something magical, something only Amazon could build. And those words drove the team for years. What they eventually built would be known as the Fire Phone. But back then, inside Amazon's walls, it was more myth than product, a dream that seemed impossible but too exciting to abandon. It was meant to be unlike anything the world had seen. Bezos wanted a phone that could see the world the way you did, literally. So the engineers designed a system of 4 front-facing infrared cameras that tracked the user's face in real time. No matter how you tilted or turned the phone, the display shifted with you, creating a sense of depth and motion, a 3D perspective effect no other phone had. To Bezos, this was genius. It wasn't just a gimmick, it was immersion. You weren't looking at the screen anymore, you were looking into it. And that was only the beginning. The Fire Phone came with a feature called Firefly, an ambitious piece of software that could recognize almost anything you pointed the camera at. Books, CDs, cereal boxes, clothing, landmarks, phone numbers, even TV shows. Within seconds, the phone identified what it saw and gave you an option to buy it instantly on Amazon. To the engineers, it was technological wizardry. To Bezos, it was destiny. He imagined a world where physical objects became portals to digital purchase. You could walk into a store, see something you liked, and instead of buying it there, you'd scan it and order it cheaper from Amazon. It wasn't just a feature, it was a weapon. A direct assault on traditional retail. The Fire Phone wasn't designed to connect you with people. It was designed to connect you with Amazon. Every pixel, every gesture, every swipe pulled you deeper into the company's ecosystem. Need a movie? Prime Video. Need a song? Amazon Music. Need a book? Kindle. Need groceries? Amazon Fresh. It was all right there, inside the device, seamlessly woven together. Bezos envisioned a future where the Fire phone wasn't just another gadget, it was the center of your digital life. A phone so deeply integrated with Amazon services that switching to another platform would feel like abandoning your world. To Bezos, this was genius. It was more than innovation. It was control. He saw the iPhone as a Trojan horse for Apple's ecosystem, the gateway to iTunes, iCloud, the App Store, and Apple Pay. So he wanted his own Trojan horse, one that led not to Apple's walled garden, but to Amazon's endless marketplace. And yet, for all its brilliance on paper, something was already off. Inside the team, doubts began to grow. Developers complained the phone was overloaded with features that didn't solve any real user problem. Designers worried that it felt like Amazon was building technology for itself, not for people. But in a company driven by Bezos's vision, dissent wasn't easy. If Jeff believed in it, it had to work. Bezos personally approved design changes, camera placements, and even color palettes. He wanted the Fire phone to feel premium, to sit proudly beside the iPhone and Galaxy in stores. He reportedly carried prototypes everywhere, showing them to friends, investors, and employees with childlike enthusiasm. This, he'd say, is going to change everything. And from a distance, it did seem like it could. A 3D interface that moved with your gaze. A camera that recognized the world around you. A voice assistant that connected directly to Amazon's cloud. Even a Mayday button that instantly summoned a live support agent on your screen, 24/7. It was futuristic. It was bold. It was different. But different doesn't always mean better. Because when ordinary people, not engineers or executives, picked up the Fire phone for the first time, they didn't see a revolution. They saw confusion. The 3D effects made some users dizzy. Firefly worked, but only sometimes, and mostly for products sold on Amazon. The interface felt cluttered, busy, and unintuitive. And the price? A staggering $649, locked to AT&T, at a time when Amazon customers were used to bargains. To Bezos, this was a small price for innovation. But to customers, it was tone-deaf. Because people didn't want to live inside Amazon's world. They wanted freedom. They wanted a phone that worked with their lives, not one that tried to control them. The Fire phone wasn't offering connection. It was offering conversion. And for all of Bezos's brilliance, that was the fatal miscalculation. He believed that if he built a phone powerful enough, smart enough, and ambitious enough, people would naturally gravitate toward it, and through it, to Amazon. But the truth was simpler, and crueler. No one wanted a phone that existed to sell them things. Consumers didn't want a buy button in their pocket. They wanted a tool that made their lives easier, not a mirror reflecting their shopping habits back at them. While Bezos dreamed of an ecosystem that revolved around Amazon, users were looking for devices that revolved around them. And that disconnect, the gap between visionary ambition and human desire, would soon turn what was supposed to be Amazon's greatest triumph, into its most painful failure. But at that moment, deep inside Amazon's headquarters, no one saw it yet. Not the engineers. Not the marketing team. Not even Bezos himself. They were building a future they believed in, and they believed it completely. Because to them, the Fire phone wasn't just a product. It was proof that Amazon could do anything. Even rewrite the rules of the smartphone world. Or so they thought. When the Fire phone finally launched, it looked impressive, sleek, futuristic, and unlike anything the smartphone market had seen. It shimmered with ambition. The ads were glossy, the presentations bold, and Amazon's confidence was contagious. The company's executives spoke about it as if it were a glimpse of tomorrow, a device that would redefine what a phone could be. The press conference was filled with excitement. Jeff Bezos stood on stage, beaming, holding the Fire phone like a magician unveiling his masterpiece. He spoke about its revolutionary features, the dynamic perspective display, the Firefly recognition system, the instant Mayday help service. Each feature sounded like a piece of the future. And for a brief moment, the world believed him. The headlines the next morning echoed the hype. Amazon's bold move into smartphones. Can Bezos take on Apple and Google? But then, reality began to settle in. When early reviewers got their hands on the Fire phone, something strange happened. They didn't feel wonder, they felt confusion. The 3D interface, the one meant to wow users, came across as a novelty. Reviewers described it as cool for 5 minutes, tiring after 10. The Firefly feature, which was supposed to seamlessly recognize objects, worked, but only in Amazon's favor. You could scan a can of soda, a book, or a DVD, but the result almost always led back to Amazon's store. It felt less like a tool and more like a sales funnel disguised as innovation. Users began to notice that the phone wasn't really about them. It was about Amazon. Every swipe, every app, every function quietly nudged you toward buying something. What was meant to feel futuristic suddenly felt manipulative. And that's when the backlash began. Tech journalists started using words like gimmicky and forced. Bloggers described it as trying too hard. One reviewer said bluntly, "It feels like a phone designed by a retailer, not a technologist." Customers who had pre-ordered the phone expecting an iPhone-level experience were disappointed. The interface was unintuitive. The performance lagged behind its competitors. And despite all of Bezos's insistence on quality, it didn't feel premium. Even loyal Amazon customers couldn't justify the price. $649 for a phone that didn't match the iPhone's polish or Android's flexibility? It made no sense. And to make matters worse, it was locked exclusively to AT&T, limiting its reach even further. Within weeks, sales slowed. Within months, they stopped. Unsold inventory piled up in warehouses. Retailers began discounting it desperately. And then came the symbolic blow, the price drop heard around the tech world. From $649 to 99 cents. A $600 idea reduced to the cost of a cup of coffee. It was humiliating. To the outside world, it looked like Amazon's grand ambition had turned into one of Silicon Valley's biggest jokes. The company that seemed untouchable had stumbled hard. Headlines shifted from optimism to mockery. The Fire phone fizzles. Amazon's billion-dollar blunder. Bezos's big miss. For most companies, that would have been the end of the story, a cautionary tale of arrogance and overreach. But Amazon wasn't most companies. And Jeff Bezos wasn't most CEOs. While the world laughed, Bezos didn't. He didn't rage, or retreat, or hide behind PR statements. He studied. Because to him, failure wasn't something to be buried. It was something to be mined. Bezos had a unique way of looking at disaster. Where others saw embarrassment, he saw data. Every flaw, every bad review, every returned unit, it all told a story. A story about what people wanted, and what they didn't. And Bezos was listening. He once said, almost defiantly, "If you think that's a big failure, you're not paying attention. We're working on much bigger ones." He wasn't joking. He meant it literally. Because in Bezos's world, the scale of your failure was directly proportional to the scale of your ambition. If you weren't failing big, you weren't thinking big enough. Inside Amazon's labs, the aftermath of the Fire phone didn't look like a funeral. It looked like a rebirth. The team that had spent years building the phone wasn't fired or scattered. Bezos made a decision that shocked everyone: keep them together. They weren't being punished for failure, they were being repurposed for something greater. Behind closed doors, they were assigned to a new, secret project. One that would take everything they had learned about voice recognition, artificial intelligence, and human-device interaction, and rebuild it from the ground up. They began reusing the same components that had powered the Fire phone. The voice chip that enabled spoken commands, the camera systems that tracked and recognized objects, and the cloud algorithms that learned from user behavior. But this time, they asked a different question: not, how do we make people buy? But, how do we make people connect? That single shift in perspective changed everything. The project started small: a device that could sit in your home, always listening, always ready to help. A speaker that understood you. A voice that could answer questions, play music, control your lights, or order groceries, not because it wanted to sell you something, but because it wanted to make life easier. Slowly, the prototype began to take shape. A cylindrical speaker, minimalistic, always connected to the cloud. The interface wasn't visual this time, it was invisible. You talked to it. It talked back. The Fire phone's DNA was still there, but reimagined. The same technology that once tracked faces now interpreted voices. The same cloud intelligence that recognized objects now processed speech. And when they finally brought the prototype to Bezos, he smiled. He saw it instantly. The next big thing. That project became the Amazon Echo. And the voice inside it, the one that would soon live in millions of homes, was named Alexa. The same technology that once symbolized Amazon's failure was now powering its future. The same team that had been blamed for a flop was now building a revolution. The Fire phone had been a product ahead of its time. Alexa was the product whose time had come. And for Bezos, that was the ultimate validation, proof that sometimes, to invent the future, you have to burn a few things first. But that realization, that transformation, didn't happen overnight. It came quietly, through frustration, analysis, and a willingness to look at failure not as defeat, but as direction. Because to Amazon, the Fire phone wasn't just a mistake. It was a message. A reminder that innovation never ends at the crash. It begins there. The same technology that once embarrassed Amazon became the foundation of a new multi-billion-dollar platform. The Fire phone's failure wasn't wasted. It was recycled into the future. And this is where most people miss the real point. The Fire phone wasn't a bad idea. It was just an idea too early for its time. And that's what separates innovators from imitators. They're willing to be wrong before the world catches up. Bezos called it the portfolio of failures. It wasn't a phrase for comfort, it was a philosophy. Inside Amazon, it became a quiet rule: for every success the world celebrated, there were dozens of experiments that quietly crashed and burned behind closed doors. But that was the point. Because every big win needed a graveyard of bold ideas that didn't work yet. Each failed product was like a fossil, proof of where innovation tried to evolve. And to Bezos, that evolution was sacred. Success, he believed, isn't a clean victory parade. It's messy. It's humiliating. It's the kind of journey where you fall flat on your face a dozen times before you finally strike something that works. Success isn't a straight line. It's a trail of expensive, embarrassing lessons that no one else dares to take. And the Fire phone? That was one of those lessons. When it failed, Amazon didn't just lose a product, they lost confidence. Shareholders were furious. Critics called it Bezos's vanity project. $170 million vanished into thin air, and the headlines wrote Amazon off as out of touch. But what the world didn't see was what happened next. Deep inside Amazon's research division, those same engineers, the ones mocked for creating a disaster, were told to keep going. Bezos didn't fire them. He doubled down. Because he understood something few CEOs do: failure compounds just like success does. Each failure teaches your company something the competition is too afraid to learn. And when those lessons stack up, they become your moat, the invisible advantage no one else can copy. That's how Amazon could lose $170 million on the Fire phone. And make $30 billion from its ashes. Because those ashes became the foundation for Alexa, Echo, Prime Video recommendations, and even parts of AWS neural infrastructure. The Fire phone's DNA quietly runs through some of Amazon's biggest empires. The truth is, the Fire phone didn't destroy Amazon. It saved it. It was the wake-up call the company needed, a reminder that innovation isn't about ego, spectacle, or one-upping Apple. It's about understanding people. It's about building for usefulness, not brilliance. The Fire phone failed because it asked people to live in Amazon's world. But Alexa succeeded because it entered theirs. And that shift, from ego to empathy, from innovation for applause to innovation for service, became the soul of everything Amazon built afterward. That's why Bezos never feared failure again. He knew every flop carried a hidden blueprint for the next breakthrough. Because in the end, the Fire phone wasn't a $170 million mistake. It was a $30 billion education. And for Bezos, that lesson was priceless. So when you think of Amazon's Fire phone, don't see a failure. See a prototype for the future. A reminder that every flop hides a seed of transformation, if you're brave enough to look for it. Because innovation isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's about learning fast enough to turn them into breakthroughs. The Fire phone didn't fail Amazon. It taught Amazon how to fail forward. And maybe that's the greatest success story of all. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Fire phone was really a failure, or was it the spark that made Amazon unstoppable? Because sometimes, what looks like a disaster from the outside is really a blueprint for something far bigger. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I genuinely read them all. I want to know what you think. Should companies embrace failure the way Amazon did? Or should they play it safe like everyone else? And hey, if stories like this make you see technology a little differently, if you enjoy uncovering the hidden lessons behind the world's biggest innovations and failures, then make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Not just to help the channel, but because every week, we dive deep into the untold stories behind the tech that shaped our world. The mistakes, the genius, and the moments everyone else forgot. Hit that bell too. Because the next story might just change the way you see the future.